You know, you're part of a generation that came, the first generation to come to the United States, and I have a special admiration for those people who come. All the first generation immigrants are just so brave. They're just so courageous. We don't tend to hear about the people who don't make it, who can't survive and don't do well and go home. But so many people just to come are made out of something different, something more courageous, something more adventurous, and it's certainly been the case for my family.
Hey, my name is Margaret Wong, and I'm extremely honored today to have our guest, Dr. Huang, to come to speak with us. I'm very interested, after I get to know him more and more, about his personal story. He's one of those, I shouldn't say people, but he's one of my friends who are born here. So I found it exciting because normally people that's over 45 years old, you don't see a lot of Chinese people born in America. And that's one thing about us Chinese. We always believe and we come in a package. What does the grandparents do? What do the parents do? What city and state are they from? So Dr. Huang, can you introduce yourself more about your personal history?
Well, I'd be glad to. It's so nice to meet you, and you've been a personal hero for me, living here in Cleveland for 35 years. You've accomplished so much. You're all over the world. You've been at the White House, and we're, of course, very, very proud of you. You know, you're part of a generation that came, the first generation to come to the United States, and I have a special admiration for those people who come. All the first generation immigrants are just so brave. They're just so courageous. We don't tend to hear about the people who don't make it, who can't survive and don't do well and go home. But so many people just to come are made out of something different, something more courageous, something more adventurous, and it's certainly been the case for my family. In many ways, my family is it's a very old family, at least the Huang family is. My father's last name is Huang, and our family goes back quite a few years. We have the complete family records back to 1276, so 800 years, and I'm the 22nd generation. We call it, I'm G22. My mother, as I said, was born in Nanking, and my father was born in Shanghai. And the story was there that although their family, their parents were born in the last dynasties of China, with the invasions of the Japanese and so forth, and there's the unrest in China. His mother was sent pregnant away to live with a grandfather in Shanghai, and that's where he was born. The story is that in the year he was born, 1931, that he was born in a bathtub in the middle of the street, in the middle of a typhoon. And so, not being a American-born Chinese, an ABC, we take it all with a grain of salt. You know, you say, well, perhaps that's not really true. Perhaps that's just something we say in the family to make it sound more interesting. But as it turns out, that July of 1931, when my father was born, had the most typhoons in recorded Chinese history. It was estimated that in that month they had no less than 5 typhoons, which are called hurricanes here in the West. Of the 5 most severe hurricanes occurred, and in the Shanghai area, over 200,000 people perished in that month alone, and 2 million Chinese died in the subsequent floods, disease, and famine that followed. So it is indeed possible that my father, being pushed by my grandfather through the streets in the middle of a hurricane, was born because he couldn't get to the hospital in time. And that explains a lot about how my father is always exploring and wandering. He's a real type B individual. He then became a professor, actually. Both my parents are professors. And he is a professor of biochemistry and won the first award awarded by Johns Hopkins for 50 years of continuous service. He actually had 53 years of continuous service until dying 4 years ago. My mother, I met him in Taiwan. And when his family separately fled, they first fled to Hong Kong. So that's why we have Wong, Huang, Wong,
Same
and
here,
all
that's
the
right.
all the
That's
different
right.
spellings, but the same character. It's a character for yellow or gold, like the Huang River, Salto Huang. So we have different parts of the family with different last names transliterated. And my mother lived in Nanking. And as you know, Nanking was a very tumultuous time, and the rape of Nanking, as they've called it, is one of the largest Asian genocides in history, when thousands of people, between 300 and 800,000 people, were killed by the occupying Japanese army, and resulted in the capitulation of China to Japan. They surrendered China. 1 billion people surrendered to an army of 10,000 because of this atrocity. My mother was about 8 years old when that happened. And she imagined being a young girl when women were being raped, and dogs and babies and men and women were being killed in the streets. And it was just absolute chaos. And she was caring for her slightly older brother and 2 younger brothers because she was a girl. They were cooking on campfires, and they were trying to hide their possessions, and they fled to the mountains until she finished high school, and they went to Taiwan, where they met in college at the National Taiwan University, Taida. They went to college there, and they met in a class, and my father's a year ahead of her, and she was the vice president, even though she was a woman, and evidently the only woman in the whole university to have a red bicycle. So the other ones were black and green.
Mhm.
So they both, the story of how my parents came to the United States is another interesting story. And if you want to hear, I can tell you more.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
My father is very good at languages. He's a very clever guy. I would say he's a lot like American Tom Sawyer. He's very inventive and looks for different ways to get out of work, even though he became a very respected professor. But he always has a gift of getting people to work for him. And he started to make a side business of collecting eggs. It was also a very good way to meet girls, because everyone wanted nutrition, and so he got eggs. And by the time he graduated, they were collecting 5,000 eggs a week, and everyone signed up to do this sort of thing. And one of the things he did, again, I suspect it's to meet girls, he formed a health class. And this health class was very popular because everyone wanted to be in charge of their health, and he got an American professor to come speak. Now, this American professor was allegedly from a giant university, world famous. It actually was Virginia Polytechnic University, which at the time only had about 1,000 students total, in Blacksburg, Virginia, which at the time only had 5,000 people. But it was an American professor that had come, and they were speaking. And so he happens to be very good at languages. He speaks Chinese, 4 dialects, Japanese, and some German and English. And so in his year after he graduated, he served the U.S. Army as a translator, translating Japanese. So during this class, he introduced them and so forth, and the next day, overnight, he wrote all night, by memory, wrote down the whole speech in English. And the next day presented it to the visiting professor as a gift to thank him for speaking. And the following day, he was called to the president's office. And as they say, it's either because you've done something very good or you've done something very bad. And he was very nervous, and he went to the office. And in that office, there was the professor and the university president. And they asked him how he came to do it, and he explained he did this, and he says, I just wanted to thank him so much for coming. And he says, I've never had a gift like this before, and I want to offer you a scholarship to come to my university. And I said, for 2 years, to be a master's student. Now, he's usually not at a loss for words, but he didn't know what to say. So the professor thought he was negotiating and says, well, I'll make it 3 years. And he didn't know what to say. Now it's 3 years. He had never been outside. And I'll tell you what, if you like, I will make it the full ride for a PhD at our campus. And finally he said, well, what do you think? So, he said, well, I have a problem. And he says, what's that? I said, I have a girlfriend. And that girlfriend was my mom. And he asked, well, how are her grades? He goes, a lot better than mine. I'll give her the same deal.
Oh my gosh.
And so they became the first, they came over separately to do a master's degree at what is today Virginia Polytechnic University, a major university in Virginia. And they received their master's degree. And on the day they got their degree, my mother went to a Shell station and changed from her graduation gown to a dress, and they got married on that day in the university president's house.
Oh.
Just 4 people, because family was far away, and they got married. Now the same professor gave them some advice. He says, well, we were applying to graduate school. We're not going to do that. We just got the master's. And they had offers from Princeton and Yale and Ohio State and several other major universities. And they asked him, well, where should we go? We don't know any of these places. And they said, well, you should go to Ohio State because they have a really good football team and they pay $5 more a month in graduate stipend. So they listened to him and they went to Ohio State instead of Yale or Princeton or any of the other schools. And while there, they got married and they were there. They did their graduate degrees. And I was their first recombinant DNA experiment. I was born in Columbus, Ohio. And from then, they went to Caltech to become postdocs and faculty, and then to Johns Hopkins, where they spent the rest of their career. My father, 53 years at the university. My mother, 60 years at the university, just retired a month ago. She was the first woman professor, tenured woman professor in the arts and sciences, and is 50 years as a tenured professor, 6 years before women were admitted to Johns Hopkins. She was 8 years before she was allowed to eat in the faculty club because she was not white, she was a woman, and she was a minority. So she ate in the kitchen with the black cooks because she loves cooking. And they would save things for her to take home, and she'd tell them how to cook things, and had a much better time than eating in the main dining room with stuffy old white men. Mm-hmm. So she retired after 60 years on the faculty, and together they, as a couple, they have 113 years of continuous service at Johns Hopkins, the most of any couple in history. In the meantime, she has a few other things that she's done. She founded an Institute of Molecular Biology, which is now ranked amongst the top 10 in the world in Taiwan. And she was the second director there, and they call her the grandmother of Taiwan science. She and my father are both members of the Academic Sinica, the highest academy of science in Taiwan and on the mainland as well. There are only 2 couples in the world. The others won the Nobel Prize. They're the second couple to be honored in both places, in Taiwan and China. And in his later years, my father became Dean of Life Sciences and inaugurated the first school of life sciences at Tsinghua University in China and in Taiwan.
Can you introduce Tsinghua and Taida? Because I'm sure our listeners don't know what they are.
So there are a number of very, very famous institutions in China and in Taiwan. Tsinghua is one of the ones that has both.
It's not one of the ones. Yeah. It's the one aside from Taida.
Yeah, that's right.
He's being humble.
Oh, well,
right.
It's one of the ones that is both in Taiwan and on the mainland, which is a very rare thing given its long history. Mm-hmm. They're both graduates of Taida, or National Taiwan University.
Best in Taiwan. I could not have gotten to Taida.
And they had to do by competitive. But he started that, and they're recognized on both campuses and both countries.
Taida is the best. I don't mean to cut you off. Taida is the best universities, and that's the first university to send out students when I came to America in 69, there were quite a few, more than 100, 200 Taida students. They all marry, I always tell them, they always marry each other. And also there's so few girls that they always pick the Taida. So some girls they married probably, it's not that smart. But that's the best university in Taida.
Well,
and that's also the first university that sent out J1 students in the 60s.
That's right. And of course the Exclusion Act meant that women could not come for quite a long time. In fact, when was that rescinded? What year was the Exclusion Act rescinded?
Probably in 1920s.
1920s. So that was allowed, but still there was not very many women, and certainly not many Asians in the United States at that time. So I have a sister, and she was born in California, and our family home here has been in Maryland for many years, and I've been in Cleveland for almost 35 years, and Cleveland is my home, and I'm lucky to have my mother still in good health, and we're looking forward to being together soon.
Yeah. And we have been Dr. Huang and I have been talking about older women. I'm also an older mother. And it's difficult because the mom doesn't want to, of course, her life is there. She used to have a driver take her to school and come back. So the fact that she's just retired, that's why we're commensurating how to set up living places for moms who have been very successful, and how do they go in the second phase, which is another interesting topic. Tell me a little bit about where you graduated, what are you doing, and what are your children doing, and the more important is, how do you feel about being an American-born child, but who's not like in the 20s and 30s? When I say age, because most of the American-born, they're in the 20s and 30s now, but you're more before that time.
I'll answer the second question first, and that is, I think we are who we are. We inherit our features. We are born where we're born. We inherit the name that we're given. And so in many senses, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking or worrying about who I am or whatnot. We do the best we can. Voltaire said it best, flower where planted. Wherever the seed lands, between a crack of a sidewalk, grow, thrive, do the best you can, and perhaps not worry so much about what is or what isn't. On the one hand, it's difficult. I was the first Asian student in my elementary school, the first Asian student in my high school, the first Asian student to become president of the major Retina society in the world. And that's, I didn't do it, I didn't receive the position because I was Asian, but it just shows that that someone had to be first on those things. On the other hand, I guess I'm lucky because many of my contemporaries, or even younger, don't speak as well as I do. I speak reasonable Chinese, conversational Chinese. And when I lecture in China, it is interesting, or in Asia, in Shanghai, they said, "Oh, your success is from us because your father was born in Shanghai." And in Nanjing, they said, "Oh, because my mother was born in Nanjing," and in Taiwan because, well, they went to school here, so everyone wants to claim a little part of me. So, on the other hand, it is, I'm not completely of both worlds. I am neither, I'm recognized as an Asian person in America, and I'm recognized as an American person in Asia. And it's but I feel fortunate because I can. When I lecture there, I lecture about 80% in Chinese, 10% in English, and 10% no one knows what the heck I'm saying. So at least I have that. But for people who are not as lucky to have language, I speak Spanish and French and some Arabic and some Hungarian and a tiny bit of Portuguese. I can say caipirinha and thank you and good day. For people who don't have the gift of language, it is difficult, as it is for every immigrant. Who are you? You're ancestrally of one world. I'm very proud of my ancestry, but you're born into another world, and it's a world that you'll never really easily go back.
Mm-hmm.
And my children, I have 3 successful children. My eldest son is an oncologist in New York. He's married to a fantastic consultant works for McKinsey.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter just got married. She is finishing her training as an ophthalmologist and being a retina surgeon, like Dad.
Also with Dad.
That's right.
She can take over your practice.
Well, she could,
Yeah.
but I think I might make money off of someone else's daughter, not my own daughter.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
She's married to a wonderful man he's a German engineer. He works. He's a lead engineer for Waymo. He's on self-driving cars by Google and Alphabet. So he is a wonderful, wonderful guy. And my youngest son, she's in Sacramento, and my youngest son lives in San Francisco, and he is a senior vice president of the third largest real estate finance company in the world. So he's doing quite well. So it's our family. My wife is a dermatologist. She could have gone into dermatology, but chose not to. We met in medical school, and we both trained at Albert Einstein in New York and received our medical residencies, our specialty degrees from Johns Hopkins. Mm-hmm. She was the chief resident in dermatology. She's in private practice here, and this year is our 40th anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
So we've been able to survive very well.
And also during our conversations, you mentioned your father was also disappointed because in spite of who you are and who you could have been, he thought you should have been. So can you tell us that story?
Well, he's a wonderful gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
There's not anyone who doesn't love him, really, really love him. His last name is Huang, and his Chinese name is Bing Chen, but everyone called him PC. Mm-hmm. So everyone knows PC. Everyone knows PC. He was PC before PC was invented, and everyone likes him very much. And he's a chess player, and I'm a chess player. We play chess, maybe thousands of games of chess together, and we would even stay up late when we were traveling and set up a chessboard in the lobby of a hotel and just play chess. And he's a very, very wonderful man. I was lucky enough to go to graduate school and get into Harvard University. I was on a tumor virology training grant, a molecular cell biology, a PhD program. And 2 years into the program, having passed all my exams, I felt like that wasn't my chosen career path. I enjoy people, I enjoy helping people, and I love being in the lab and doing research, innovation, discovery. I continue to do research even now, but I felt that my path should go elsewhere. And I shared that with my parents, and my mother said, he knows what he's doing. He's very smart. He knows what's best for him. And my father, of course, who was born in a bathtub in a hurricane, who worked as a translator, who took 3 months to sail across the Pacific, who came when there was no family, who did not speak English, who lived in a windowless basement in Columbus, Ohio, to raise their firstborn son, to go to university and get into a PhD program at Harvard, who then informed him that he wanted to do something else because if he continued his degree for 3 years, he would be 25 and too old. And I was sure that was the right decision. I would yell at my children too. But in the end, it turns out that I went to medical school at Albert Einstein and then got into Johns Hopkins, which is the most prestigious residency training program for ophthalmology in the world. They've trained more department chairmen than any other program in the world. And then my retina training is at the Bascom Palmer Eye Institute in Miami, and that is also rated #1 in the world for 30 years for their training, and became a faculty member, rising from assistant to associate to full professor. to chair professor, to vice chair, to head of research. And in 2017, I was inducted into the Retina Hall of Fame. And there are only several hundred people in the history of the world who are in this society. So I feel extremely blessed for all the awards and honors I've gotten. But to this day, I feel a little sad that I've disappointed my father.
I'm sure that he, at the end,
appreciated that.
Yeah.
And it was actually very meaningful to receive the Jose Rizal Medal.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Rizal is felt to be the hero of the Philippines when they liberated them from the Spanish and became a democratic society. The most prestigious award in Asia is the Asia Pacific Academy of Ophthalmology, the Jose Rizal Medal, and I was awarded that in Shanghai, in the city where he was born.
That's awesome.
So
did he
it sort
tell
of turned
you,
out.
"Congratulations, son"? He's proud.
He's an old-time Chinese
That's
fellow,
right.
and did
Yeah.
not ever say that he was proud of
Same
me.
with our family. We don't say things like "love you."
We don't
or
say love
we
you
don't
enough,
hug
but
each other.
but
Yeah.
honestly, but he did. He was proud, and he came and attended when I received the Distinguished Alumnus Medal from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and so I think in his way he was proud. But you asked before about the journey, and they grew up without parents.
Right.
They did not see their parents for over 20 years. They wrote letters every week and sent money back there, but they did not see them. So they had no role model to be a parent. And so that, plus the era that he was born in, is perhaps different from what we would say an American parent, or the parent that I am.
So when your parents both worked so hard becoming professors, who took care of you kids?
I don't quite remember, to be honest. We went to school very early.
Right.
I was enrolled in kindergarten at age 3. I was in first grade at age 5. I was already at the middle school level for math, but I was hopeless in English, and so after one summer of diagramming sentences with Mrs. Richardson in Baltimore, of a hot, steamy summer, English became my very best subject. I've been very good, and much better than my 10 years wasted at Peabody Conservatory as a pianist. So, yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
When I first came to America, not knowing the difference between American born, foreign born, and then the age difference, I'm very much like you, but already I'm a lot older than you. So my friends were telling me how Chinese Americans were victimized. Someone in Detroit was killed. I think the last name is Lee, and we should all ramble against it. And I didn't feel like that, more because I'm a foreign born. I just figure I don't look in my mirror every day. But I noticed you don't have that bitterness that a lot of American born children of your age, because when I meet them, I always see some sort of victimization or complaints about merit versus scholarships and stuff. Did you get a sense of that, or you're okay with all these?
I think I inherited from my father. I try not to spend time on things that we cannot change the color of our skin. We cannot change whether the weather will be warm or cold tomorrow. These are just facts of life. I'm lucky to be built in a way where that doesn't bother me. I think it helps that I've been able to be a person of achievement, that people like me as they like my father, and I think that that's true. And I choose not to say that I'm being held back by my race. I've been the things that I do competitively are all individual sports. I play chess, I played chess internationally with a team. I played the piano. I wrestled. But I love team sports. I played soccer, whatnot. But each of the individual sports, there's no one to blame. The person beat you or you blundered, but there's no one to blame. You didn't lose because of your race. You lost because you didn't play as well or you need to play better. And so that's been my attitude, and it helps if you succeed a lot and people like you. But I thoroughly understand. I do have one episode that I know the day, the moment, the event. It was a Tuesday at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020 in May. And I had finished 7 surgeries in the operating room, and I was going to treat myself to a Subway sandwich. And I went to Subway, which I love, and I got a sub. And I came out of the thing to go to my car, and someone said, "Go back to your country," and spit on me in a day when the pandemic was starting. And I have to say that that's probably the most memorable time, most emotional time, because I stood there like a potato. I didn't really have anything to say. I was shocked, I was angry, but I didn't know what the person was capable of. I didn't want to escalate the situation. I couldn't think of anything good to say, couldn't think of anything to say. And, but I can empathize with the people who feel that they're disrespected, that they're being passed over. I think it's very difficult. I'm very sympathetic to those. But on the other side, I feel so grateful that I don't. And I don't carry that burden with me. And I just say, I'll try my best.
And is that how your children feels?
I don't know. It's hard to speak for your children. I never have. I let them have their own voice. I let them choose their partners. I think they've chosen wisely. They seem very happy. They seem very well adjusted. And although they're half Chinese, as my wife is Caucasian, they don't seem to carry any hatred of their name or their race. They love Asia. They love Asian food. They love chopsticks. They know how to say jiaozi, and they know how to say za cai, and they can say ganbei, and they do that even though they don't speak Chinese or write or read. They don't have any of that guilt, as I see many children do, and many contemporaries say, I can't get my children to do anything. They want to be anything but Chinese. So I'm not sure how or why that is. They certainly, I'm happy that they're happy. It's a very un-American way to be, I guess. But wouldn't every person in the world want to have their children be happy?
That's right. Now tell us a little bit about your professional life, about your fundraiser that you're coming up, and you're very proud of that foundation.
Yeah, thank you. Well, professionally, I'm an ophthalmologist, a retina specialist, and along with other accolades, I'm now the incoming chair-elect of the Science Committee of Foundation Fighting Blindness. It's the world's largest private funder of vision research. It's extremely big. It's we support vision research programs to the tune of $130 million every 5 years or so. So it's really prestigious, and we work all over the world. But I also wanted to get back to say, what could I do to help cure blindness? I don't have a lab anymore. I certainly help people in my clinic and in the operating room. I teach, I educate the next generation of students. I work at the federal level, and nationally and internationally, but is there something else I could do? And I came up with an idea to showcase, to tell the stories of people who are doing groundbreaking work that can help millions of people. And that was the genesis of the foundation called the Future Vision Foundation. Each year, as its major event, we honor 3 laureates at the Cleveland Museum of Art. And what we do is we interview directors who are local to where they are. So we tell the story in a short film. Who is Margaret Wong? What is her superpower? What is her discovery? How does it work? And who does it help? It might be the children of sub-Saharan Africa. It may be premature babies. It may be elderly people with different diseases. What did they do that help people see? So the first gene therapy anywhere in the world that helps people see. The first bionic implant that helped people see who were pitch black blind for 10 years. We tell their stories. And this is a development catalyst. So I tell your story because you're busy doing what you're great at. You're in the lab, you're in the clinic, you're in the operating. And it's difficult, as it is for me, to talk about whatever small achievements I have. But we tell the story for you. And we tell that, and you can use that. You can give it to your development officer or friends or whoever it may be, and they could use that film to tell the story. The story we try to tell is not one of, oh, look at people going blind, please give, but that's very charitable. But our films try to say, don't you want to be part of something really special? Don't you want to know this really incredible person? And people have that feeling. We've been successful. We now have over 20 films that I've executive produced. And we say, I didn't fully understand that, but that's what my daughter has, and I want to get to know this person better. And so that has become a development catalyst. It's not an award where you get a lot of money, and even that is spent quickly, but it's something to tell the story. And it's the first organization ever to combine the visual arts to tell the story of vision science. We talk about arts and science all the time. Mm-hmm. This combines that.
Again, my name is Margaret Wong, and it's an awesome and amazing experience to be able to invite Dr. Huang and to talk about this. I've heard of him, known him for years, but it's amazing to have this discussion. And thank you for listening. Thank you.